Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name's John Omrod. I am a content manager at Virtual Expo. We're supporting here from KUKA. I have David Smolka with us. David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, John. My name is David. I'm at KUKA for around about 10 years, I would say. Quite some experience in the robotics business, and today for you here to talk about food industry. Yeah.
Exactly. So today's webinar is called "Do Changing Food Markets Create Automation Opportunities?" As I just explained, David will be presenting for us. If you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and write it in the text box. If there's anything that I can reply to you straight away, then I'll do so. Otherwise, I might interrupt David if it's I believe it's going to be useful at that moment to stop the webinar, to interrupt him in his flow so he can answer the question for everybody, or perhaps towards the end of the webinar I'll ask him the question towards the end. David? Yep.
Then thank you very much for the short introduction. Then I will take over, share my screen, see if you can see everything that I want you to see. Just let me know, John, maybe if the screen is... I'll
let you... There we go, yes. We can see now your presentation, the full screen. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining this call today for the title, "Do Changing Food Markets Create Automation Opportunities?" So what does that mean? I will try to take you through a journey over trends that are keeping the world busy and try to answer this question in a certain way, but also invite you to post your questions, to go on the chat. I think John will be very happy to answer those, and so we can try to interact as much as possible together on the webinar. Okay, then let's go for it. So, all right, I'll just have some marker to follow up with you together. So the first trend that we see in the world is customization. So the customers or the manufacturers or supermarkets are having more and more the desire and wish to have customized pallets, for instance, so to get delivered their products more and more based on their needs. This is trend number one. On the second one, we see changing demographics. I think quite lately there was the news posted that we have around about 8 billion people living on this planet, so growing population, but there's much more behind this truth, meaning that in certain countries, people are growing more than in others, and we see that people are getting more elderly, especially in the area of Europe. Then the third one, to talk about this corner over here, we see that the topic of pandemic changed quite some things, but it must not be always a pandemic. It can be also regular disease and topics that are actually quite involved in the hygienic environment of food. And then the last stage, I would like to look a little bit more into the future. So present some stuff for the future logistic solutions, meaning that automation can not only be placed in the factories, but also outside of them for the trucks in the front or in the back, but more on this later. Yeah, to represent a little bit the world of a production site, we are starting always from the supply. So something is delivered over here in the very left corner. And the initial task that we have is depelletization. It does not apply maybe to every site, but it's an example to discuss a little bit the automation opportunities. So this big robot will do the depelletization, and then we have followed up over here one of the Delta mechanics, typically doing some picking jobs, so picking stuff from one conveyor to the other, or replacing them from one path to the other, following up again for some picking, which could be even putting the food or the consumer goods into kind of trays. Then we see follow-up of different tasks, really depending on the product, on the different parts that you want to handle. Some bigger robots, the typical 6-axis ones, and then we are looking into the pelletization at the end of the line, where we are actually somewhere over here, and then going to the distribution, depending on the different orders, how the products need to be handled. I see there are already 2 questions in the chat, John. Is there something we should go on? Or No.
No, no, sorry. Just Dave, they're just messages from myself, just welcoming everybody and
Okay.
just inviting people to ask any questions. So I'll interrupt you if I think it's pertinent. And
All
just
right.
a reminder for everybody, please do go ahead.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, then what I want to do is in the first trends to go a little bit more deeper in the second stage. So as I said, customization, definitely a topic. It can be also your shoes that you're ordering that can be together combined with your signature of your name, and all this stuff is showing that customization is a real big trend. To touch this a little bit more, we are talking about the demand for higher variety, meaning that robots in the back of the line, in the end of line, so how we call them, they are the task or have the tasks to produce different kind of varieties, which we'll see a little bit more in the next slides. So what is the problem today? If we order, or if we are looking into the order side, the expectation is, of course, to be just in time. So in the moment you order, the time is running and you want to have your stuff delivered at the moment that you're having it for your other customers. The second one is the transparency. So you are really wishing today to look at your phones, to follow up the routes of the trucks, to see where the product is going, but also where it's coming from. What is the name maybe? What is the country? And how was the product prepared? And the third one is the rise in price, meaning the inflation that we see, yeah, more and more coming from several topics. Lately, we are talking about energy crisis, but we saw already many topics that touch this price lately. And the last one are the bottlenecks. We see that supply chain is not a standard topic today. It's a really expert tasks to have a great supply chain, and it's really optimized. And here comes one to our bridges, to our first robot I would like to show you. It's the Sub-Zero Pelletizer. Why I'm showing this robot now is related to bottlenecks, because we see more and more requests coming to our house about supply chain topics like bigger freezer areas. So where companies are deciding to extend the freezing areas or build up new ones. And here we can talk about one of our robots called the Arctic Pelletizer, meaning that the robot can work in areas until -30 degrees. So you don't need, in this case, any protective covers. You don't really need additional stuff on that. So there are special programs running that can make this robot operate in this cold environment. Well, to follow up on this robot, I would like to show you a special video to show you how this one could look like in a factory. I think pictures are nice, but I would like to show today in this webinar some videos that you can understand even better how these operations look like. To understand what we talk about, it's also necessary to see the variety of products. So if we call it a deep freezing area, it can be, of course, variety from ice cream, it can be bread, it can be pizza. So basically everything that you can freeze, and this can be literally everything. I'm not a freezer expert, but I can imagine that you can freeze a lot of products in the world and then handle them in different ways. So then I would say, let's go for the first video where you can see one of those freezing areas, where the robot is actually working in a really cool environment. Cool meaning very cold in this section. This is a company that is basically operating with spices. They're delivering spices from France, and they have this robot installed in their factories because they have the need to operate in this really cold environment. And as you can imagine, for the people working there, it's also a big problem to work in this kind of cold environment. So they decided to use one of those Arctic robots to make the operation more smooth with robots. And as you can see, there's no heating needed or no additional cover on top of this robot. Yeah, so I think I would only like to show shortly into the videos to give you a kind of impressions, because there are many of them, to just run broadly through them. Good, back to our supermarkets. So what we see over here are shelves that are filled up with many different products, many different SKUs that needs to be handled. This brings us back to the wish of customization. So for the need to have not only just a pallet delivered with standard products, but to have the wish for different varieties. So how can we solve this kind of problem? Again, coming to the next videos for the mixed pelletizing. I think this video is also showing a nice inspiration for how customization can look like. Swisslog is one part of the KUKA group, and here we will see a typical mixed pellet. Yeah. So what we see over here is really different products that are arranged on one pellet. So the customer can really define what exact products you want to have where. In the background, we see one of the Swisslog works. So a big storage, a big area, but it's filled with intelligence and then combined with the KUKA robotics at the end of the line to make the pellets ready. Yeah, this was the short video for this one. And the second one is talking a little bit about so-called rainbow pelletizing. So in this case, we don't have each of these layers in a different way, but we have a pellet that is existing of different layers. Yeah, but on the layer itself is just one product. But this is also one demonstration video to show how the technology works. So if you work with this technology, you can order actually one complete line of one product. Yeah? And we see that the robot is working like in a carousel, and we call it rainbow pelletizing because it's, in this case, creating different layers with different colors, and it tends to look like a rainbow. Yeah? Yes, we see here is quite self-explanatory. Then the mobile platforms are going to the area where we talk about not the unwrapping, but the wrapping in this case, so to make the pellet ready to deliver. Okay, yeah, when we are already at the pelletizing area, then I would also like to point out technology that is used to make those industrial proven robots more in a collaborative way. So meaning that we have today the opportunity with the air skin to equip different mechanics from our house to make them collaborative, meaning that the skin is filled with air and it's reacting on different pressure. So meaning if you touch it or if you have any contact with this mechanic, the robot will stop and make the operation then safe. So in this case, you don't need any fence around and can operate quite close to the robot, have still an industrial mechanic that is now collaborative. A second topic that I would like to touch over here is the pelletizing solutions. This example is from FlexLink. And it will show how pelletizing can be accessible almost for everybody. So at the front, we see that the footprint is quite small. It's quite a limited area that this application needs, and it can be used very flexible, meaning that you can just switch it from one place to the other in the production, going there. Exactly, here we go. The lifting options, and then you can just change it.
So it's a question, David. We had a question from Christopher saying, "Hi, robots pelleting load max?" Question. What's the? I guess what's the maximum load that the robots can transport
for the pellets?
Yes.
It verifies a lot. So we have quite a huge portfolio on this pelletizing robots. So it can be really a big differentiation of different loads. So I think we can follow up on this one. You can write me afterwards, and I will try to give you a short session on our portfolio, especially on pelletizers. But there's a really huge variety. It can be from 5 kilo until 300 kilos. So really a broad variety of kilograms.
Thank you.
Okay, so this pelletizing solution, what is very unique here, or very special, what I like at least, is if you have seasonal production. Yeah, if you have products that you just need for one kind of season on the summer, let's maybe talk about some special barbecue products that you won't need in the winter season, then you can just put this pelletizing solution in a different place and take it back again. Yeah, that's the idea. Good. So about the air skin, just one more inspiration how it works basically. So as said, I think here it's looking a little bit better on the pictures. It's a typical industrial robot that is covered with this technology, and you can just see once more again how it looks like in the combination with the skin and the robot together being in the fenceless application. Good. Then we jump to the second trend called changing demographics. So we feel a lot of requests coming for lack of employees. So people are missing, and I would like to show on this trend how this developed, this problem, and touch more and more on this lack of employees topic. So declining birth rates are meaning that we see really decreasing numbers. If you look a little bit more in the history, I have some statistics also here today to show that these numbers are really going down in the birth rate. So meaning that population is definitely growing, but not growing as speedy or as much as it was in different times. Then the second one, we have a termination of employment. So this is basically based on the pandemic. So quite some people left their jobs. I think a good example is the airplane business, where the people left the places and then find other jobs, maybe some in the home office, some other opportunities that they were not looking for. And what was happening a little bit later, that these operations like the airplane started again to run, but they were missing the employees. So it's not a plug and play game to find some people that are skilled for this environment and for any job in the world actually to get them. So they have the signs over here, come in, we are hiring. So they are waiting for people and searching for them, and it's quite a tough situation. So as you might know, some airplane companies have really problems to get the planes filled with the bags and all this stuff. And that's the fourth one. The expectations are higher also from the society. Minimum wage is increasing, so people have the expectation to get more money. And in this time where we have a lack of people, of course, it's quite a favorable situation to choose your jobs by yourself. So these companies that might have some difficulties to find people because they have special environments, it's even getting more dramatic. Yeah, some statistics about changing demographics. Here we see that the bars are basically going down. I don't want to go too much into detail, but we see that the numbers are basically from 1950 collected until 2020, which we see on this bar over here. And we see a clear trend of going down the numbers. The second graphic is also showing that women are having fewer children. So the fertility rate is also going down, and basically it shows the same story in the slide, that the numbers are dropping. So society and people are still growing, but not that much. And that means that people are getting older, or the whole society. Good. One example on one of my favorite industries. I'm operating a lot in the meat industry. Here a topic is surely sustainability and animal welfare. The second one is the working conditions. So as we can see, this tends also to be quite cold areas, around 3 or 4 degrees, and the people are working quite heavily. Then the third one in this topic is the contamination. So if we look at the pandemic, this is one topic, but surely we are aware of the African swine fever. So if you want to travel from Germany or different places around the world, you will see this kind of sign. So it's still active and really a big topic for this industry. Then the fourth one are the higher prices. I mean, those are also not stopping for this industry. They are also taking care over here. So yeah, energy costs are going up, and also this industry has to fight with this kind of topic in connection with sustainability and animal welfare. So the expectation is also to have these topics touched quite clearly today, to have more and more transparency about it, about the preparation of the meat and the farms and all this tracking. Good. This brings us on next course to a little bit different markets that might be not initially food ones. So in this case, you see the restaurant application. This is a machine from Brazil, quite interesting, that is actually preparing fried food, not frozen one, fried food, or it can also have some cans that are brought outside. So it has a show effect, but it has also a realistic case that people are missing, and these kind of fast catering jobs can really be operated by machines that are supported by robots. Yeah? If we go to hospitals, I think it's also quite a good example to see that robots are helping out in different parts of the industries. In this case, it's more in the medical area where people are missing, and this is also a good example where robots can be in non-automated markets. Then the third one, I could enjoy a massage at our KUKA factory a couple of weeks ago. So it works, definitely. It's quite an impressive experience. I really trust robots, but still you have to have a specific mindset to be very relaxed. But I think this kind of technologies will keep us more and more busy in the future. And well done for this application. I think it was still quite relaxing. And then the third one goes more and more to the area of catering. So we see tasks that tend to be quite often in hospitals or in the airline business or in universities or different places where you talk about food services, as we could see at the beginning, that are handling different tasks to the tablets, are putting tablets into trays, giving people drinks. This kind of stuff gets more and more interesting because of the missing employees. Yeah, then setting the right structure to understand the industry. So how do we see the industry to be successful with you all together? We think that still we have to talk a lot to the system integrators. I mentioned that we saw the machine from Brazil delivering the food. I think it's very important to talk to this kind of companies called machine builders, called line builders, called integrators to understand the business. On the other hand, we are seeing that sensoric suppliers, especially in this industry, are very important. So people that are having camera systems that can help our robots to get eyes, make them more sensoric and perform tasks that are maybe more advanced than in other industries where you have more standardized tools or standardized products. Because if you look in the food industry, it's a very unique one since every food part is unique. So most of the time at least. And then we are talking about tool suppliers, which are also very, very important, not only for the gripping and the sucking, but also to make sure that these robots are hygienic. And the robot is hygienic when the gripper is hygienic to some extent. So this needs to be also very, very carefully supported and understood. And the last one, of course, the end customer. So what do the people that are producing at the end these kind of goods, what do they need? What do they expect from robots? What vision do they have in their head? What kind of strategy? So this also needs to be understood very carefully. And I think if we combine all these parties together to a kind of consortium, we can be very successful to make automation more accessible for new markets. Good. Some examples that I would like to show today is, for instance, the first one called the Maker Shaker. I will try to jump a little bit around. So let's start with some food preparation. It's from the United Kingdom, so from UK, and basically preparing food for canteen for people. Yeah, so this one a good example for a realistic application today that is serving the canteen. Jumping to a little bit more entertainment factor. I think robots also have to be entertaining and make fun. So this is a good video to show this and shows a little bit the journey of consumer goods at KUKA.
Puisque t'es si fort, vas-y, fais-moi une fondue moitié-moitié. En tout cas, toi, t'es pas fribourgeois. Va falloir apprendre. La main dans la cuve, on vit avec elle. messieurs, je vous présente Webot.
Yeah, so quite an interesting story why I mentioned about KUKA, because as I mentioned before, we are learning a lot, talking to customers, talking to integrators, looking around the world. So this shows that robots are learning and then managing the tasks that are asked for. Now, so here I would like to jump to the next slides. Let me see. Nope, over here. Okay. So to jump to the next trends, or the always important topic, hygiene, that comes from disease and pandemics. So hygiene, what's the problem over here, or the mission that needs to be solved? This is the expectation of consumers, of course, that go to a restaurant or that are sitting at home inviting some friends. They're expecting quite a good quality of food, very clean. Everything should be perfectly done. On the other hand, we see the challenging environment. Yeah, so the production area is with a lot of oil. You have a lot of workers over here. You have a lot of conveyors. You have a lot of stuff that is typically not the perfect one for food. So this is the challenge in this case. Then the third one, we are talking about human influence. So of course, humans on the one hand, as we see on the picture, can get sick. It will happen a little bit earlier, mostly before we know. So this showed us the pandemic. On the other hand, we can also lose some parts in the production, meaning that you can maybe lose some hair, you can lose some plastic from your clothes or stuff like rings. So these things happened in the past already. So this brings the challenge also for the topic called contamination. So we need to make sure to be a very clear deliverer of robots to make this hygienic topic also clear. So what can happen in this case? You see that some of those articles are packed and full with oil. Some of them are unpacked. So we can see a cake over here. We can see some cucumbers, tomatoes, chocolate, and some vegetables. What can happen if these kind of products get oil on it? We can have, of course, a business loss for the producer, but also for our side. We can have some reputation losses. We can have bad newspapers, and we can also have some customers that are for the future not convinced to buy this kind of products anymore. So these are very, very drastic consequences, but those can happen, of course, and products get out of the supermarkets, rejected, and all this stuff was happening already. So we introduced a line called hygienic oil robots. So we attacked this kind of oil topic. I will show you a little bit more what it means, but what's important to see that we have from our small series called the Agilus machine, ranging until our Quantic series, which is one of those more powerful machines. And those guys are equipped with a solid oil for the food industry. If you look into some of those details, it means that we have NSF H1 lubricants. So we have food grade oil that is used over here. We have still a protection of IP65 or IP67. And we are also taking care of the external energy supply, which you can see over here, that this energy supply will also have hygienic oil used to make it sure that it's grippable for a bread or for a cake or for all this stuff. So in case something goes wrong, not the whole chain is contaminated. Good. Then to touch the hygienic machine robots, which are even better equipped for this area, directly for the primary area to use more open goods and use them directly. We are talking about this machine over here called the Agilus hygienic machine and our Delta picker. So this fast picking machine that is available for you guys in stainless steel and can do several jobs, as we learned at the beginning, from one conveyor to the other, to the trays and this kind of stuff. So to explain the robot a little bit more, we are talking about the payload. We discussed before, we have different payloads, meaning the kilogram that the robot can pick. It's 3 kilogram over here. And we can also give you a little inspiration on a video to show what this robot is exactly doing and how it looks like. Yeah? So the robot spoon picking system. This has 6 minutes, so I will try to keep it rather short.
Hello, greetings to our loyal viewers. Today we are in module system located in Bukit Raja, Klang, Malaysia. So module system is actually our system integrator that collaborated with us for close to 5 years ago, and they are the robotic system integrator for KUKA. Together with me today is Mr. Rajinder.
Hi, I'm Rajinder Jitsing. I'm the regional head for module system. Keeping in mind with the Industry 4.0, we work very closely with our partners such as KUKA to come up with more robotic solutions, which are new current trend to get their products for the range of Delta robots, articulated robots, collaborative robots. Module and KUKA has developed a solution to our customer where we are picking and placing wrapped and unwrapped spoons into the conveyor pocket, which consists of food pouch. How the system works is that we have a pick vision, we have a place vision, and we also have a vision to check the quality of the whole process being done. The pick vision will see the orientation of the spoons, will know the orientation of the spoon. You'll send a signal to the robot. The robot will know, okay, the spoon is coming here, you'll pick the spoon. And there's another vision which is called the place vision. The place vision is mainly focused at the conveyor pocket, where from there we will know the availability of the pouches or the pouches are not available, as well as where will the spoons be placed in that particular pocket. For all
Yeah, so I think this shows quite good what these robots are doing. So famous for big speed, and in this case, completely stainless steel, so very used for the food markets. To show another example, here we have a pineapple that is picked also from the place A to B to a machine, and this can be more rough because the pineapple will have some fluid stuff that is coming out, and it can be quite dirty, this environment. It looks very clean on those pictures, but it can also look different. So this is also a good example to show the environments. Yeah, then we come to a software topic. So we heard it before in the video that these robots are working with cameras, and those are actually supplied by the software KUKA Pick Control. So what we can do with this one is to have one camera that is actually steering 10 robots or up to 10, meaning that you have one place in the whole line where you will get the picture and then distribute the tasks to 10 robots. As we can see over here, there are 3 of them, but it can be even more. And the camera will make sure that the robots gets eyes and can see the task quite clearly. Yeah. Good. Then to talk about the hygienic machine, what does it mean in detail? So we see that we have some stainless steel parts included here. We have IP67, and actually the design is also more hygienic, meaning that if you clean it, the stuff will not stay in the screws or stay in some parts, but it has rounded parts which will actually make the stuff flood out. And this is the way how we are talking about the hygienic design. And the cable outlet is underneath. So normally we have the cables going out here. In this case, they are going underneath. So to make sure that they are not in the dirty environment and go below the robot outside. We can see this a little bit more clear on this picture. So on the right-hand side, there's the robot on the podest standing and mounted into its position where it works. And then the cable is really protected over here, going down and then leading down out of the dirty area. For the cleaning, we are also having special protective covers for axis 4 and axis 6, which you can put on the machines before you clean in case you have very aggressive cleaners. Those are helping to make the robot survive even longer. Good. And in the case that you have very, very special environments that are very tough, we are also talking a lot to protective cover suppliers. So those guys that are engineering actually this kind of coats, or how we call them, or the covers to make the robot survive in the toughest environment. In this case, you can just take a very standardized robot, industrial one, and put it under the cover because it will really protect the robot against any hard cleaners. Good. Now we talk a little bit about customer service in this area. I think it's also very important because this area has to be maintained in a special way. So I just want to give a little bit some services that we are offering from our side to make you more familiar with robots and also support you at initial projects, which can be quite challenging in the food business. Of course, we have some feasibility and system selection. So to testing at KUKA, if we can do this application, if it's feasible, if it's too hard, or if it's actually possible to do it. And for this kind of topics, we have even application center established in Barcelona, where you can contact us for special applications, and we are ready to test them, especially for the Europe region. Yeah, then we are looking into simulations. So trying to show you on the screen like today, what is possible, what is not possible, teach you with our KUKA College to show you even how programming works, and also talk about used robots, which are very, very interesting today. When we talk about longer delivery times or any supply chain topics, then used robots are a very interesting topic to be used. Good. Then the second one, talking a little bit about spare parts. So showing you that we are actually available around the whole world. So we are not only in Germany, where we are headquartered, but we are also operating in different parts of the world, and even having in Asia our whole supply chain center for the parts, and also in the USA. So this kind of stuff can be delivered right to you in quite short lead times. Good. Then to show some more examples about the primary area, we were talking a lot about cleaning, a lot about dirty environments. I would like to show something from the cheese industry. That's quite a new video that I like a lot. As you might know, cheese is quite famous in Netherlands. So this looks like some Dutch area.
Is specialized in slicing cheese and grinding cheese from hard cheese powder blocks. My name is Hugo Verput, Technical Operation Manager at Vapor Cheese, responsible for technical service for 2 production locations, inclusive a warehouse, inclusive buildings, and also responsible for my proposal for invest for new lines for automation and replace when they reach the technical age. The idea for the automation solution comes from discussion internally about the old line. The old line needs a lot of people to run it. The quality standards are not high enough. Also the output could be better. Then we have the question, okay, can we build a line with less FTE, high quality and double the output? And that's why we're talking with Groba to start working on this line.
My name is Robin de Groot. I work at Groba. I'm there one of the managing directors. My responsibility is mainly focused on the sales and marketing. Well, at Vapor Cheese, they make cheese sticks. We provide equipment for cutting this, and this starts with cutting a whole cheese into slices. This can be Euro block, Gouda, or Edam, or cheddar blocks, which are cut in slices. In the next step, we put the slices on a cutting unit. In the step that follows, we take these cheese sticks and put them into a packaging machine.
Yeah, so I think these are the most interesting parts to give you some inspiration on this one. I would also like to show the example of chicken trussing from Australia and New Zealand for Scott Automation. A very interesting example over here. Yeah, so many robots working together to make the chicken ready for the supermarkets. Okay, and then the last one would be the assembly of sandwiches. So if we look over here, let me see. Oh. Yeah, then I will use the link in the PowerPoint. So this is a good example for the catering industry, I would say, or food services, where the robots are actually used for packaging those sandwiches into the packaging area. Okay, yeah, and then we have some more examples that I just have here today on the slides, but I won't show them. It's It's the case of spreading tomato sauce on pizza. It's also the case of cheese derinding. So putting away the cheese with the robot together and sorting of quarter blade. So picking them from one conveyor to the other on a hygienic way. Good. Then to close up this webinar, to give a sneak preview also on the future, we are looking into automated truck loading. And I will just really jump on it very briefly to show a little bit where the future is going to. And here we are talking about the production area that I showed basically today during the whole webinar, showing the storage, showing the logistic tasks. And now in the future, we are also looking more into these segments over here. So I think this task is quite a hard one to load trucks and to unload them. And we see that some companies are already quite active, and that smaller, medium, and even bigger companies are requesting this kind of solutions for trucks, for containers, for logistics stuff. So I think this can be an interesting future for us all. Looking into this one, I have here a short example from the company Technica. So they did already some drafts and have even a short video that I will share today to show how truck loading can basically look like, or deloading. In this case, we see a robot equipped with some grippers that are sucking, and then operating in front of the container. So as we said, it's not something that is rolled out already completely. We've seen some nice ideas in the world already. I think this will be the future. That's why I put it today in the section of trends that will be future automated now. Okay. Yeah, then what's next? I think to finish up this webinar, it's also nice to give some ideas what the future could look like. And I think the areas that are outside of production, like the supermarkets that I emphasized today a little bit, are going more and more to be automated, to be digital, like the digital shelves or the inventory management. So these kind of data are more and more collected. And of course, you will see some automation and robots behind that are actually handling the products and giving the data from one system to the other, meaning that the consumer can in the future see with virtual glasses even what kind of product is that, where was it produced, what is the amount of protein, when is the date when it will be not good to consume anymore, and all this stuff. And he can probably even customize it depending on his needs. So saying, I'm searching for something that has not included milk, all this kind of stuff, and this virtual glasses will help us probably to find this product. We see already some prototypes or some interesting research about it, but I think we can also talk about stuff like loading shelves automated in the night with some mobile platforms and robots. But this is more the future and more dreaming about what could be and not what is today. Yeah, so to close the session, changing markets do create automation opportunities, definitely. We see that the lack of employees is bringing up new applications that were not interesting before, because manufacturers are really searching for automation. We see that hygienic topics are still a great challenge, and also this one will be a big topic, and that customization is increasing even more for producers, for suppliers, and also for us consumers. Good. Then it's time to say thank you very much for listening. I tried to make it as possible, as much to keep it in the 40 minutes from my side. And then I would like to hand over to John.
Just about 44 minutes. So just 4 minutes over. It's not 10% over.
German accuracy.
Not bad, not bad. So yes, thank you, David, for presenting to us. Any other questions? There weren't many during the webinar at all. Now's the moment. Please go ahead. You have your discussion box. If you click on there, you can go ahead and ask any questions for David that you might have, and we'll be able to reply to you. So please go ahead and write anything that you have now. And just so you know, David, there was during the webinar, there was an offer for somebody to take notes using an application, and that they have the offer to send you the notes at the end if you so wish. But I'll let you perhaps think about that afterwards.
Okay.
So if anybody else, if you'd like to, if you have questions specifically to do with the presentation for David, or the products perhaps that he's shown, that he's talked about, then please go ahead. Now's the time. and so that he can explain to you a bit better. Okay, well, as far as I can see, there aren't in anybody that's writing, but perhaps it's perhaps there aren't. You showed up the comments from Paolo saying excellent presentation, so thank you, Paolo.
Thank you.
Any actual questions to the products which have been presented or anything else? Some applications to manipulate fresh food. So you showed in your in the videos, we saw several examples, but specifically to do with fresh food, which is perhaps a bit more fragile. Do you have any specificities for fresh food?
Yeah, very interesting. I didn't show any examples today. We saw something about the sandwich topic, which includes also fresh food that were more in the packaging area. And we are more and more active indeed in the fresh food area. So we had some ideas that I saw lately in the agriculture part. So the grasping of apples, where you also need to be very careful how to pick them. And we are also talking to certain companies about fresh food topics indeed. So to really get vegetables, to get them touched, to get them handled on specific ways. And I think this will be also the future to get more in the primary section, because the back of the area that I showed about the packages and pelletizers is already quite experienced. So I think this will be the next level for the consumer goods markets to automate also this primary area, where we will handle more and more fresh stuff and more primary stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, David. And thank you, Luis, for the question. Anybody else? Any other questions to ask David now? Okay. Doesn't look like there are going to be any of us right away, David. I don't know if, because the presentation will be sent out on a replay. We have, as we currently on screen, there are your contact details. So if anybody thinks of something afterwards, you can perhaps take a little note of David's email address and mobile phone number now, if you so wish.
Sure, yeah. So if you are looking forward to any discussions, I really like to discuss about any trends, about market topics going around, just drop me an email, follow me on LinkedIn, and get in touch with me. I'll be super happy to exchange with you. Yeah.
Just another question from Casper's.
Mm-hmm.
The sorting of different casts is by previous command or subordinate already in process. So the sorting of different casts, is it done by a previous command, or is it subordinate, sorry, already in process? I believe it's possible to program your own processor, or is it all the machines do a set movements, I suppose?
So I mean, the programming is very flexible, if I get it correct, John. So you can program whatever you want, so the movements and the parts of the robot, but I'm not sure if I got your question correct.
Would you like to confirm, Casper's? That's how we'd understood, but perhaps we hadn't understood correctly. I'll allow you to confirm. Christopher has written pick and pice two foods with SCARA robots. Pick and place perhaps two foods with SCARA robots? Question, as a word with the question mark. Yeah, pick and place. I assume to pick and place two different foods with SCARA robots. Perhaps is that the question, Christopher?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, for sure. I mean, the SCARA, I didn't present it today, and the SCARA model that we have is partially also used, but it's maybe not 100% IP protected right now, but we are also working on that to get a SCARA model that is exactly also matching the needs for the food industry to have it better cleanable. But for sure, from the technology side, it's also ready to grip different parts, but depending really on the area where you want to install it in the factory. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Just so that Casper's, he wrote, he's written back. Just so you know, his previous message was sorting of different casts is by previous command or subordinates already in process. And he's also replied, dimensions when placing boxes on a pallet.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can also look by myself to the
perhaps a bit.
The chat. Let me see. Sorting different castes is by previous command or subunit already in process. Dimensions when placed in boxes on a pallet. I'm not sure what castes are, to be very honest. Can you help me, John? Is that anything specifically that I'm?
Cast in this context, it's proposed. I believe he's asking, is there, or perhaps what he's asking, so say I have to try to understand. I'm not 100% sure, but perhaps is it possible to reprogram a robot which is doing one action and then to reprogram it to do another, or will we need to send it back to KUKA to reprogram it to do something else? Yep. Perhaps it's that one. I'm not 100% sure.
I think in this case we can also discuss afterwards, but I would interpret it as a flexible robot application, as I understand it, to have not only one task but to have different ones. In this case, I think it's also a good idea to work with cameras, and if we have different dimension placing boxes on a pallet, when we have different cases or crates, I would say, to bring them in a different formats on a pallet, I think this is absolutely doable. And on some cases you can work without cameras if you have a certain amount of standard products that you know already how they will look like, and you know that this variety will come, then you can pelletize them. If you don't know the exact product that is coming and it's a huge variety, then it makes sense to have a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional camera to identify the parts that the robot needs to take care of.
Thank you. So you're saying with the camera that should be we'll sort out the parameters.
Exactly,
right, David.
Yeah,
yes,
that's the idea.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? Please go ahead if you do. Okay, I believe not. Therefore, as mentioned, David, you shared at the end of the presentation, when you get to replay out his contact details. So please do go ahead and write in if there's anything you think of afterwards or anything that you'd like to ask personally to David, and don't necessarily want everybody else to see the answer. Please do go ahead and get into contact after. But if there's nothing else, then I think we can wrap it up there, David.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for hosting this webinar, to giving me the chance to talk to the people. Thanks you, John.
Welcome.
And thank you guys for listening and joining this session, hopefully. Thank
you, everybody, and we'll end it there. Bye-bye.